Hey there, Mr. Reddit here. Welcome back to another episode of r/entitled Parent Stories. Our first story we'll be reading today. Bully me into selling you my car? You picked the wrong mama bear. After that, am I the jerk for how I handled my creepy coworker? And after that, if I don't get help, you don't get help either. Now for every thumbs up this video gets, one Karen gets her Disney Plus canceled. But I want to watch Mandalorian. So please hit that like button. And subscribe and turn on notifications for new stories from Reddit every single day. Bully me into selling you my car? You picked the wrong mama bear. So, about 8 years ago, I'm selling a used car. Engine light was on, the AC needed recharging, and the fuel pump or something was out. So I go to my local, trusted sales site. Ad goes up with a few pictures and the words, "I work weird hours, so I may not be able to accept a phone call. Please only text me." Yay to working swings and midnights, right? 'Twas actually college classes, but same thing for me. So a few days in, I get a pretty standard text. "Hi, I'm Matt. Is your car still for sale?" Matt isn't his real name, but you get the idea. So text back that it is. A few standard texts about price. Why is the engine light on? Who did you get the quote from? I listed an approximate price on the repairs as quoted from my trusted mechanic, and whatnot go back and forth. The next day, I get a text from him saying, "Are you gonna take all your crap out of your car before you sell it to me? Or is that my job?" Unwarranted hostility? Really? What the heck, man? He's not the only interested party, so I text him back. "I'm not selling the car to you, so don't worry about it." I never said I would sell it to him. He never asked if he was the only interested party, and others were arranging test drives already. I didn't need him and his less than full price, partial commitment. And the crap he was complaining about is 3 textbooks and a bag that I keep clothes in. 4 things. This guy didn't like to take no for an answer and starts calling and texting about how my car's paint is peeling. True, but the pics and description said so. And how dare I ask so much? $1,000 for this car. I started replying for a time, telling him he wasn't going to get the car, that I had other interested buyers, so he didn't need to worry about it, etc. Then things got personal. This site gave you the option to link to Facebook, so you could post at both places at the same time, so I had. I didn't have the privacy settings turned down, as it was still early into Facebook's absolute reign, and I actually trusted them at the time. Silly me, I know. I hadn't anticipated that he would be able to find my info through the website's post, and find my name, my location, pictures of my family, etc. Surprise, he did. He starts to text me about how I should be ashamed of myself for saying no to him, a muscular dude. He included a picture in one text, and he wasn't the muscular-built man he claimed to be. He looked like a beanpole with 2 ab muscles, so what the heck, dude? He asked me if I even knew anything about cars. He texted that I should be lucky I was already married, or else he would come to my house. He got close, but didn't have an address, and the way my address pulls up on GPS, he never would find my apartment, thankfully. Small side info. Since I was in college at the time and needed a more flexible schedule, I worked on a school crossing guard. Every 2 weeks or so, we'd go in to sign our time cards in order to get paid. This crossing guard gig was a hire through my local PD. Not all crossing guard gigs are the same, but this one was. During one of these visits into the office, I was using my phone while I was waiting for my boss to get to me, my name being low in the alphabet. I hadn't yet blocked the dude, as it hadn't been long since this started, and I was hoping it would fizzle out on its own. I didn't check my phone in class, choosing to turn it off to avoid ADHDing it the entire day, and I was often flooded with several hours of texts all at once. What I saw on my phone drove me crazy. He started texting about pictures I had posted on Facebook about my son. He had just majorly crossed the line. "I didn't sell you a car, and you're taking out your rage by threatening me and my kid? Oh, heck no." Apparently, I was loud when I said what I did, because my boss stepped right over to me next and asked what was wrong. Great person, 10 for 10, would boss again. I told her that I was getting these texts from a random that tried to buy my car. I told her I was about to erase the texts and block him, but she's like, "No, wait, don't do that. Let me see your phone." So happy I didn't delete them, because this next part still makes my heart sore. I offer and she takes my phone, reading all of the things that he texted to me. She tells me to wait until she's cleared the lobby of the other crossing guards, so I do. She then tells me to follow her behind the security doors at the PD station, still having my phone. I don't know what's happening, but I liked and trusted her, so I do. I follow her back to her office where she works on her computer, referring my phone on occasion. She asks if all I have is the phone number or if I got his name too. I tell her I only got a first name and scroll to the text where he introduced himself. A semi-uncomfortable amount of time later, she hands my phone back. Something to mention, my boss isn't just administrative. I didn't know this at the time, but she's a full-on lieutenant in the local PD. She came up the ranks from patrol, moving to a position where she exclusively investigated family complaints before moving into her current desk position. Needless to say, she didn't take people threatening others lightly. Because I hadn't blocked the number, I still had the text messages with the dude's name, and she had used it to cross-search him and the phone number. Long story short, she knew exactly who he was. She says not to worry, but don't delete or respond to his texts anymore. She had it. If it got worse, I should call her or 911 as appropriate right away. Unconcerned and happy she had the situation in hand, I leave and go to class. When I'm back to the office to sign my next time card 2 weeks later, I had several unread texts from the guy. I had filtered them, so I didn't see them pop up and hadn't read them. I had sold the car for full asking price, but forgotten the entire situation. My boss tells me to wait for her again as she had something else for me to sign, and I again return to her office. She briefly explains what she had for me was an actionable complaint that she needed for me to sign from my issue 2 weeks ago. I remember everything all over again. She must see my face because she tells me not to worry and that she can tell what's going on more after I actually sign the form. So I do. Dear Reddit, this is the best situation anyone could have asked for. The phone number tied to many people, as the provider was known for cheap cell service for those who were desperate for a way to contact people, services, or employment. But with the name Matt, again fake name, she was able to find out who was messing with me. She then got a driver's license, which led to an address, which led to a police report for possible violence. Fall down the rabbit hole some more, and you find out that this dude had 5 kids by 4 different women, and he was in arrears on his child support to all of them. Hadn't been paying for over 10 years, and it was in the neighborhood of $30,000 to $50,000, if memory serves. But he somehow, just 2 weeks ago, requested a title transfer for a, new to him, quite fancy old car. I don't remember the kind, but think high-end car show and massive insurance premiums. Being so far in arrears meant that my boss was able to place a seizure order on the car so it could be sold to pay back the child support. One of the baby mamas lives in a state where fleeing child support meant that you could have a warrant issued for your arrest. When she called the interested parties in that state to see if they wanted her to execute the arrest warrant, they said yes, with much haste. That was a funny phrase, so I always remembered it. One conversation later, and my boss was able to determine that he was using the brother's social security number on his employment forms to avoid child support garnishments. This is all sorts of illegal, so she notified this guy's HR department so it could be corrected. They informed her that he would be fired for fraudulently submitting false documents. She then told me that about 4 days ago, she had executed the warrant on the dude for felony abandonment, and that the state he was to be held for was already en route to pick him up. It carried an 8 to 12 year sentence, and he still had to pay back his child support. I could have dealt with the comment. I could have dealt with the not taking no for an answer, even dealt with the stalking a little bit. But when you think it's okay to bring my kid into the picture, you done crossed the line. If you would have stopped at no, you wouldn't be in jail right now. My boss really was the best. I cried when I left that job. She retired a few years back, and I sent her a huge cake. She remembered me and called to thank me. She was fantastic and never gave me a reason to doubt her support. Have you ever dealt with someone who wouldn't take no for an answer? If so, what did you do about it? Please let us know. Oh, I just love it when the bad guy gets what they deserve. Am I the jerk for how I handled my creepy coworker? I have a coworker, I'll call him Keith, who I feel like is starting to cross a line with me. He's always talking about his wife and how awful she is, and I'm always tuning him out or telling him I don't want to hear it because it sounds like some midlife crisis crap where he's trying to hit on me. Last week, he asked me to happy hour. I said maybe. Is he getting a group together? He was super vague and dodged the question, saying, "We'll see who comes out. You never know with these things, and people having other stuff going on." I asked if he invited anyone else. My spidey senses were tingling, and he said, yeah, some of the guys on the team. I said, cool. Who? He said that he just asked around. I was getting a super strong feeling he was trying to pretend he tried to plan a group event, but what a coincidence, only I showed up. I could have said, no, I wasn't interested, but I honestly was feeling a little petty and wanted to catch him out in a lie. So I said that I didn't know about going out. It would be fun to hang out with the group, but my dog was feeling sick and I didn't feel good leaving him alone that long. I then went around to pretty much the whole team and was like, yo, there's a happy hour at Patty's, 5 p.m. You coming? Keith's planning it. Did you already hear about it from him? And got like 15 people saying Keith didn't mention anything to them yet. About 10 of them were down to hang out. I texted Keith to say that my dog seemed okay. My roommate was taking care of him, so I was down to go to happy hour. So at 5, a whole group made their way to the bar, Keith included. I started to drive to the bar, and then I got a text from my roommate that my dog threw up in the bed, and I had to go deal with it. A white lie. I guess Keith had to go out with a bunch of guys we work with who thought he had organized the happy hour. I know he isn't the type to want to hang out with coworkers outside of work, so I feel like that was a bit of karma for trying to be two-faced with me. Ended up having to do the thing he was pretending to be doing. He told me the day later that it was rude of me to invite an additional number of people and then dip out. I said, sorry, I thought it was a team happy hour like he was saying. Anyway, I couldn't make it because my dog was sick. Am I the jerk for being petty instead of direct? Well, who do you think is the jerk? OP or Keith? Please let us know.
Sounds like Keith got just what he deserved. There are better ways to deal with a midlife crisis, like buying an expensive convertible sports car you don't really need.
If I don't get help, you don't get help either. Many years ago, I worked at a large movie theater at a mall as an assistant manager. We were always busy and had full staffing levels on the weekends, but to make up for the payroll costs, off-peak days and hours were staffed extremely low. 1 staff member per area usually. We always received our inventory shipments on a weekday and in the morning/early afternoon, but they were always such large shipments that my general manager, a sensible fellow, would usually have an extra staff member or two scheduled to help put the massive amounts of candy, popcorn bags, tubs, drink cups, 35-pound bags of popcorn kernels, cleaning supplies, and whatnot away. Even with the help, this could take a few hours. There would always be at least 4 or 5 massive pallets delivered. Well, on one usual inventory day, there was a slight problem. The week before, my GM went on vacation and the assistant GM, a total jerk, made the schedule. Ever the stingy jerk, he decided it was not worth a few extra payroll hours to schedule any extra people on that day to help out with a shipment. Furthermore, on that day, he had scheduled himself and I as the 2 managers on duty during that shift. And since he was above such petty things as actually doing any work at all other than sitting in the office reading sports scores on the computer, it was up to me to get the entire order put away, cover breaks for each lone staff member working in the box and concessions and usher, and deal with any customer complaints and issues should any arise. I was, well, I still am, a very small, lightweight female. Lifting a couple thousand pounds of boxes and bags in a short time period, while also tasked with the aforementioned responsibilities completely solo, just didn't seem logical to me. So I made my way back to the office, where Assistant General Jerkface was reading golf scores or something. I said, hey, I could really use some help putting the order away. I can't get all of this done before the end of my shift. The jerk scoffed, gives me a sarcastic smile and goes, I think you can handle it by yourself. I say, well, I would really appreciate you covering the breaks for the staff while I work on this then. I really can't do all of this by myself before the end of my shift. Again, the jerk gives me that same grin and he goes, well, if I were working alone, I know I would be able to do it all by myself, so you should be able to do it as well. Figure it out. Fine, forget you. So I go back out there and just start hauling butt to get things put away. In fact, I'm furious. And when I'm furious, I can be a little careless. I'm about halfway through the initial third of the quarter of a 10th of the first large pallet of BS I'm tasked with handling when I realized something that infuriated me even more. Jerk Assistant GM was supposed to be the person who prepped the area we stored candy in the day before. What this means, in theory, is that the person responsible for that goes into the candy storage area, rotates all of the stock from the last week to the front left side of the shelves so we can stock the new stuff towards the back right, so we don't overlook a case of cookie dough bites, and then it goes bad, gets our customers sick, and we get sued, or something like that. Anyways, since the jerk did not do this, I now not only have to put this crap away myself, I'm also responsible for rotating the existing boxes on the shelves in a neat stack on the left before I can even think about unloading this pile of overpriced diabetes chow. So now, I'm just a whirlwind of candy shuffling fury. As fast and carelessly as possible, I'm just punching boxes into their rightful positions without any regard to their delicate innards. I don't know if M&Ms can bruise, but some of them probably did that day. My rage was actually helping me out quite a bit, until I got to the Twizzlers. For you lucky souls that have never stocked boxes of bulk candy before, most of them are reasonably sized at about 5 to 10 pounds a box. So while there are a lot of them, they're reasonably manageable. This is not the case with Twizzlers. Our Twizzlers packages were full-sized, and there are about 60 of them in a box. I shoved my arm in to grab the first of the massive box of twisty sugar ropes that's on the right side that needs to be on the left side, and completely rip off a good-sized chunk of my arm near the elbow on the metal shelf bracket. Well, I was told before that bleeding on the boxes was generally frowned upon, so I made my way back to the office to interrupt Jerky McGolf's scores and show him my ouchie arm. Despite his failings in literally every other area in his life, he does realize that workplace injuries should be taken seriously because potential lawsuits and money and liability and whatnot, and immediately located a clinic that we had some sort of professional dealings with that would check out my arm and give me a tetanus shot and all that jazz at no cost to myself. I was pretty hysterical at this point, although not, as he thought, over my injury, and he assumed I was upset about having to lose hours. I was hourly, you see, and assured me that I would receive pay for the full day at work. So I got to the clinic, got patched up, got my tetanus shot, and was home about 3 hours prior to the end of my shift while I had the knowledge that the jerk now had to go rotate the stock, get the order put away, cover breaks, and handle people complaining that Saw 3 wasn't the intellectual cinematic masterpiece that they thought it would be, and could they pretty please get their money back even though they watched the whole thing, while I get to sit at home receiving full pay for the rest of the day. Worth that scar though, in my opinion. Am I the jerk for driving away from a hiking trip with my boss's husband? I, 26, female, recently moved to a new city after getting a job. I've been having a hard time making friends. Most of the people I know so far are from work. We all get along, but we aren't close, more like acquaintances. My boss, Sue, has been very welcoming since I moved here. She often has all of us over for dinner and loves to celebrate whenever there's a birthday, a baby, or a big milestone in our team. Last week, I was out to lunch with Sue and a few other coworkers when Sue told me about a hiking group her husband runs and how it's a great way to meet people. She said he would be leading a hike on Monday, this past Monday, and the whole team should go since it's a holiday. Monday was my birthday, but I hadn't told anyone and I didn't have any other plans, so I said yes to the hike. I drove to the meeting spot on Monday, which was kind of remote and up in the hills. Nobody was there when I arrived besides Sue's husband, Greg. I asked him where everyone was. He said no one else could make it and it would just be us on the hike. It was early morning and still dark, and I didn't know Greg other than seeing him passing at Sue's house. I knew he was probably a nice guy, but I felt nervous going on a hike in the dark, remote area with a guy who was practically a stranger. I called Sue, and she told me that something came up with her kid, but I should go. It'll be worth it for the view, etc. I still felt unsettled and asked Greg if we could just postpone for a day when the others could come. He got frustrated, saying it's no big deal and we should hurry up and start. I was more nervous at that point and thanked him before saying I was going to head home. That upset him even more, and he came towards me and asked if I thought he was some sort of a criminal. He seemed angry, so I panicked and jumped in the car saying that I had to go. He kept yelling at me to stop as I drove away. I was on the way home, terrified, when Sue called me. Apparently, the hiking trip was a cover for a surprise birthday party the team was throwing me at the lookout point. She found out about my birthday through Facebook, and Greg was just supposed to lead me there. I felt terrible and offered to drive back, but Sue was upset and said I ruined it for everyone and made Greg feel like a creeper. Now the environment at work is tense. Sue and my coworkers only talk to me when they need something, and they didn't invite me to team lunch. I feel like I really messed up.
Join as a channel member today and we'll give you a special shout out in our next video.
And don't stop now, come watch this video next. You will love it.